Peace, warriors, family. This is Dr. Sadiki Che Baye, the host of the Men's Room, coming to you every Tuesday at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, coming live from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I'd like to thank Brother Eddie for blessing us with this opportunity. And this is the place where you hear the voices of the Black men in our community, the ones who are accomplished, the ones who have contributed to the upliftment of our community and the rebuilding of our community. We have a special guest today who is the Honorable Dr. Sekazi Kauze Mtingwa, who is this brother's everything. I mean, I'm gonna give you a few things that come to mind right now that is related to this brother. The list goes on and on, but right now I like to say that this brother is an accomplished, a gifted, a physicist, inventor, educator, a Rhodes Scholar, an international consultant, and activist who drives home, who drives home the need for scientific excellence in all phases of life, business, and culture. This brother is a deep brother, and he's also a modest brother. You know, I remember, brother, that we had talked, matter of fact, let me introduce you, let me bring you in first. This is the Honorable Dr. Sekazi Kauze Mtingwa, who is my welcome, brother.
Thank you, Dr. Sadiki. It's certainly a pleasure to be here. It's always great to be among friends and family. A lot of my family's here. Of course, my wife is Stella Johnson, who's been with me for a number of decades, and there's Harriet, who is an accomplished writer. I'm nothing compared to Harriet. I don't know how she produces so many books so fast. It's absolutely amazing. And the others. So it's a pleasure to be here to chat a little bit. about my life. Let me just start. I'm, as Dr. Sadiki said, that I am a physicist, theoretical physicist mainly. I've been involved in research at the forefront of what's called nuclear physics and subnuclear physics and accelerator physics. But how did that all get started? So I often reflect back on the time when I was a little boy growing up. My wife and my mother and father separated, and my mother took me and my two brothers, Larry and Graham, and we went and moved in with our grandparents. And my grandmother was extremely religious, and so I was educated quite thoroughly on the Bible and Jesus, all of the great things that he had done. And believe it or not, there was this thing about the second coming of Jesus. And here I am. I was a little boy. I thought I was good. So I thought I may have been the second coming of Jesus. And I had that idea for probably. But what cured me of that, I went to Sunday school, and one Sunday, the teacher said that Jesus gave his life for murderers and all these other. And I looked around my classroom and saw these knucklehead boys. I said, wait a minute. I said, I had not given nothing. So I knew then I had to get another profession. Anyway, at about that time, I discovered from my second grade teacher that the library in Atlanta gave certificates if you would read at least 10 books during the summer, and they had to be from different, so many biographies, so many novels, etc. So anyway, I said, I better start doing that to try to find out what is there in the world. So I started reading these books, and I became a little bit sort of interested in science, but I wasn't completely convinced. However, at the same time, I used to be kidded by my classmates, and my name is Sekazi Mtingwa now, but as Harriet and all my family members know, I was born Michael Sawyer, but not only Michael Sawyer, I was born Michael von Sawyer. And my friends used to kid me that I'm a mad German scientist. I'm von, all the people we read about in the white lab suits and all were von this and von that. So I got to thinking that maybe science is not so bad. So between the reading and the kidding, I decided I would like to go into science. Now I would read these books right on through about the 9th grade. I think the last certificate I got was after my 9th grade. So at that point, I was well up. I was in my second year of high school, finishing it up. And I got interested in biology. And also I got interested in the idea of working on a science project. And so I had a great teacher, a woman by the name of Dorothea Jackson, who pushed me in this respect. And so by the 10th grade, I was actually fortunate. That was the time, I grew up during the segregated school era. In the 10th grade, they integrated the Georgia State Science Fair. It was held at the University of Georgia in Athens. And I went and took my project there and won first place. So I was so excited about that. I won first place in botany. Now, I was thinking I won first place in biology because I don't even know if I knew what botany meant, So my project was one of a closed system of astronauts and algae, so that the algae plants would grow and they would give they would give off oxygen that the astronauts would need. The astronauts could eat algae and get the nutrients, and vice versa, the astronauts would give off the carbon dioxide that the algae needed, and they would the waste from the humans can be used to fertilize and grow the algae. So that's the system. It was a closed system for space travel. So I was always, extremely proud of that. But one of the things at that science fair, one of the prizes that I won was a huge box of different paperbacks on different fields of science written for the layperson. And one of them was, there were 3 books on Einstein's theory of relativity. And I read those, and from reading those books, I was taught from then on that physics was the way that I wanted to go. So that's what sort of got me along the road of pursuing physics. But I think I could stop here and say that the most important thing that I did was reading. So this is one of the reasons I'm so fascinated by my cousin Harriet, the fact that she can write all these books, because reading is what really, I think, opens one's eyes. I think that the young people nowadays look at too much TV and video
Mm,
games and all of this stuff that don't really
mm,
challenge you to think and imagine what's going on in the world around you. But reading books is just so fascinating. You enter different worlds, and I'm so indebted to that. So all my life, I was really big on reading. Nowadays, I'm so busy on things. I don't read as much as I would like to. But reading, as a college student, I always wanted to speed read. I heard so much about the Evelyn Woods Dynamic Reading Institute. So I finally took that and became a speed reader. And so I could read rapidly as a young adult. As I hit my older years, I found out that speed reading made me nervous. So I had to learn to read slowly. But anyway, it's all good. The important thing is reading. Okay, so this leads me to, okay, I went on to MIT and received bachelor's degrees in both physics and mathematics, and graduated Phi Beta Kappa. I'm very proud of that. And from there,
Beautiful.
I went to Princeton University, which is actually where Einstein ended his career. He spent the latter part of his career at Princeton. So I went there and majored in theoretical, particle physics or subnuclear physics. And then I went on after that and did the usual postdocs and so forth and so on. And so I had worked at some of the major laboratories in the country doing front scale research. So over the years, I developed this philosophy that I try to impart upon young people coming along, especially college students that I interact, because I do a lot of mentoring. And that is that you can't save the world if you don't know anything. So the first thing you need to
Mm,
do is educate yourself. Spend the first part of your life just studying and reading and educating yourself. And when you can establish yourself along a career path, then you can start reaching out and helping individual people to also maximize their achievements. And as you get older and continue to do that, at some point, you want to change society. You want to change national society. You want to change world society. So that's the stage I'm in. And I've been in this stage for some time, maybe for the last 30 years. Of course, I'm in my 70s now. So, I had gone through my first stages, as I outlined, up until the time I got to be about 50 years old. So one of the things that I was involved in, one of the early activities was co-founding the National Society of Black Physicists. Especially in those days, there were so few of us. Everywhere we worked, we were always the only one.
mm.
Oftentimes, the only physicist in the whole state, let alone
Wow.
at the only at the particular laboratory or
Lonely
university.
road. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we needed to support each other. So that's why we did that. And I served as president of the National Society of Black Physicists back in the early 90s. And after I finished, about 1996, the Hispanic physicists wanted to emulate much of what we had done. So they invited me to come to the University of Texas, Austin. And so I was able to help them to set up their structure to
Mm,
found the National Society of Hispanic Physicists. So these are the kinds of things that I do, that I've done nationally. Currently, on the national stage, I'm president of an organization called Increase. And Increase is the acronym for a very long title, which is the Interdisciplinary Consortium for Research and Educational Access in Science and Engineering. And so what we try to do is work with historically Black colleges and universities and Hispanic serving institutions, Native American serving institutions, to connect the faculty and students to many excellent research opportunities that are in progress at our national laboratories. The kind of facilities they have at those national labs, a university would not have them. I mean, for instance, I'm an accelerator physicist, and an accelerator could cost you $1 billion, right? I mean, so you're not going to put in general. Now, there are a couple of universities that, like Cornell has an accelerator, have national accelerator facilities, but most universities don't. So that's why the big national labs are set up to be what we call user facilities, so that we need to have more of our minority serving institution faculty and students taking advantage of those opportunities. So I spent a lot of time as president of Increase trying to make that happen. And that also grows out of an earlier stage of my life when I left Argonne National Laboratory outside of Chicago to go to Greensboro, North Carolina to chair the physics department at North Carolina A&T State University, where I stayed for 10 years and helped the university to start its first PhD programs in electrical and mechanical engineering, as well as starting a master's program in the physics department. So these are the kinds of things nationally. So I can't reach out across the ocean if I don't do something at home, right? People always want to know, you spend all your time in Africa, what are you doing at home? So I can tell them, okay, so we can sit down and I can chat about what I'm doing at home. So, in 1988, a group of us met at something called the International Center for Theoretical Physics in Trieste, Italy. And so we had representatives from the US and from a variety of African nations. These were physicists and mathematicians, engineers. And we decided we wanted to do something to try to push Africa ahead in the fields of science and engineering. So we founded something called the Edward Boucher Abdus-Salam Institute, and that was about 1988. And out of that, my involvement in physics in Africa has just really been, a great joy in my life. And the downside is that I spend too much time in the air. I'm constantly traveling. I remember one time, this was in the latter part of my career when I was teaching at MIT. I had a meeting in South Africa one week. In 2 weeks, I had another meeting. But it was a critical time in the semester. I had to take care of my students. So I had to fly to South Africa, have these meetings, fly back to Cambridge, Massachusetts to kind of close out things with my students, and then fly right back to South Africa. I mean, that's a 17-hour air trip, right? You can fly nonstop these days out of Atlanta to Johannesburg. It's a long, long, long journey. Doing it so many, I must have been out to South Africa maybe 20 times over the last, since about 2000. And I actually enjoy it now. It's not so bad. I have nothing to do. As I said before, nowadays I'm just working constantly. But when I get on that plane, I have 17 hours of peace. So it's not so bad after all. So anyway, much of what I do nowadays centers around something we call in physics a synchrotron light source. So what is this accelerator? It's an electron accelerator that's about 300 meters around. And when the electron beam travels around this circle, you can wiggle the beam at any point along the path, and it will emit intense bursts of X-rays. And these X-rays are used to decipher proteins, to study diseases. They're used to study structures of materials, to create new materials. Nowadays, we can conceive the idea for a material and then go to the lab and construct it. And one of the important tools in making this possible are these so-called light sources. And so if you look around the world, Africa is the only habitable continent. Now, Antarctica is inhabitable, so it doesn't count. But if you look at all the continents that people are living on, Africa is the only one that does not have such a light source. So one of my commitments, and I've been struggling with this since around the year 2000, is how to convince African governments to construct one of these $500 million accelerator facilities. I mean, this thing is so important that countries around the world are racing to build ever more modern of these synchrotron light sources. Africa is left behind. So that's something that I'm really involved in. We founded something in 2015 called the African Light Source Foundation. And so we've been working really hard trying to mobilize our forces. We need people who can use them. So we do a lot training African scientists to use them. We send them to light sources in other countries so that they can gain the experience. And in fact, I helped to found another organization, which that's all it does. I mean, the African Light Source Foundation wants to construct one of these. This other organization that I co-founded called Light Sources for Africa, the Americas, Asia, Middle East, and Pacific sends people from developing countries to the light sources around the world for training. But we definitely have to get African governments to pool their resources to construct one of these things, because otherwise I don't know how Africa can be competitive. These things are revolutionizing so many fields of physics. I don't know how much time I have. How am I doing, Dr. Sadiki, on the time?
Oh, yes, sir. Well, you have 5 more minutes, brother, but that's beautiful so far. And what I'd like to interject or share with the listening audience is when I met you down in Atlanta, we were talking back and forth, and
Right.
and I was telling you how great and high-minded you are, and we were sharing some words, and you say, "Wow, man, that's deep what you're saying. Why don't you put that on paper?" And as a matter of fact, I did. That's why I wrote my 3 books.
Great.
And I felt so special when you said that, because I was looking up to you before I even met you. I heard so much about you. But before I go, I don't want to go any further, because you was on a roll, and we have like 4 minutes for you to do that.
Okay. Well, there are a number of organizations that I've been fortunate enough to help co-found. We just recently founded something called the Union of Physicists from Portuguese-speaking countries. And just before we went on air, we were discussing the fact that my wife Estella and I, and Estella is on the call, on the video. We went to Cape Verde so that I can try to meet more African scientists from the Portuguese-speaking countries, because I've been working in Africa for decades now, and I over the years just never interacted with any Portuguese-speaking Africans. I've worked with a lot with those who speak French, those who speak English, but no Portuguese. So that's something that I hope to spend a lot more time interfacing with those Africans from Angola, Mozambique, Cape Verde, Sao Tome, and so forth. So that's extremely important. There's another organization that I'm very excited about called the African Laser Center, and this was an organization that we founded back about 2003. One of the things I found is that many African scientists, work in their labs, and they don't have connections or collaborations with Africans in other universities, even in the same country. So we formed this network called the African Laser Center, and we've been able to really couple a lot of scientists all across the continent together, so that they can actually visit each other's labs, write joint scientific papers and so forth. So I'm extremely excited about that. Another organization is the African Physical Society. I helped to found that and helped to write the strategic plan for that. We continue to meet. We meet. What's one of my problems is I have all these organizations I'm involved in. Each one has meetings all the time. So Zoom has been both positive and negative. It's so easy to call meetings on Zoom. In the old days, we basically met when we could physically be together.
Right,
we have an annual meeting. Those annual meetings have turned out to be monthly meetings. At the monthly meetings, you set up subcommittees. So that's another meeting. So anyway, it's been tough. And then another place I've been involved in founding something in Tanzania called the Julius Nyerere University of Agriculture and Technology. And I really feel close to that university, because when I changed my name as a second-year graduate student to Sekazi Mtingwa, it was Tanzania that I was thinking of, because I really admired Julius Nyerere and what he was doing there. So my name is from a group in Tanzania called Bonde, and Sekazi. Kazi means hard worker, a worker with the implication of being a hard worker, and
Mm,
Se is a male hard worker. So I have a daughter who's Makazi, which is
right.
the female hard worker. And Mtingwa means one who was confronted by many problems and yet overcomes them. My middle
Mm,
name, Kauze, basically means go and ask. It's being inquisitive. So anyway, so Tanzania, I've always had a certain closeness for, and when I finished graduate school, wanted to go to Tanzania and teach in a university. That did not happen. However, I was many years later able to go and to help found a university in Tanzania. So this university now is about 5 or 6 years old, something like that. So
wow.
I'm very happy about that. So with that, I think I've come up to the final. So I will turn it over. It's been a pleasure talking about some of my life experiences, and I will turn it over to my good friend, Dr. Sadiki.
Well, don't you go nowhere, brother. Just hold on. We're not finished with you yet. We might get you back on it. Not might. We're going to have you on again in the near future.
Sure.
So get your schedule together.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir.
No
Well,
problem.
I noticed, brother, that you're excellent in all phases of life, business, and culture. And I really appreciate you. Let me ask you this question, Warrior. How what how can you motivate or inspire the youth today to get into this area? We have like
Mm.
3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. I think the thing for young people, I always have this thing that each of us is the best in a number of things. So you have to pick one of the ones that you're the best in and go for it, right? I mean, so to me, it's not so important so much to excel in science, but to excel in whatever is your gift. And the science will come because there will be people who like numbers. Believe it or
Mhm.
not, I don't do numbers too well. I like equations. I sometimes I struggle with my times tables.
Well, we need to come
We
together,
write.
brother, because I love math.
Okay, great. So anyway, if math is your thing, go for it, right? Which is
Yes, sir.
why, as an undergraduate student, I mean, I love math. Of course, math is the language of science. It's the language of physics, and so that's why I double majored in mathematics then. But then I didn't have to do numbers. We just do equations. So
How about
anyway,
that?
so it's important for people to. That's why I think reading is the key. Get the children off of these video games and all this
Mm,
junk they do and let them read, right? And they will discover something that they really will enjoy. At the same time, I think, the world is so small now, it's extremely important to learn languages, which is
mm.
why in college I took 3 years of Russian. So I'm reasonably fluent in Russian. I'm a little rusty now, but I'm able to, in fact, I went to the Soviet Union back in the day, right before the curtain fell, and spent 6 months there with my wife Estella and two little daughters in the kindergarten and third grade. So I think languages are extremely important. One of the things I have to do is to learn some Portuguese since I'm now engaging with my Portuguese colleagues.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I really thank you for that, brother. And I look up to you like, you know, that you are our hero. You're one of our heroes, and we really appreciate you, brother. And when I was talking to you, I feel
Thank
kind
you.
of special when I met you there in Atlanta. It was a
Oh,
special kind of thing there. So it kind of pumped me
same
up,
here.
So
Same here.
we feed off of each other's energy, and I'm sure
That's
you understand
absolutely
that energy thing.
correct.
Yes, sir. So
Absolutely.
thank you so very much for being who you are, brother, and all that your accomplishments. And we really appreciate you. And but we have one more minute before we go into the commercial, and then on the back end, uh, uh, Queen Mother Harriet is going to mute everybody, and then after the commercial, you manually unmute your computer, and have a question or a comment or something to our warrior to show our appreciation. But right now, I did meet your daughter, a couple of years ago, and she's all that, brother. You know what I mean? And I thank you and your wife for
Thank you.
for bringing about a high-minded queen as she is. And so with that in
She's
mind,
a computer whiz.
oh yes, sir. Oh, hey, it all came from you, brother. It all came from you and mom.
Yeah,
so it's all good. They the little you. So with that in mind, we're going to go into the commercial, and for 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, then we're going to come back on the back end. Queen Mother's going to mute everybody, and then you unmute it after the commercial. Have a blessed one. Take a little rest, and we'll be back.
WGFB-FM radio. So are you ready? How it used to be. Something for everyone. 24/7, 365.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the wacky waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the wacky waterfall.
It's the shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com, then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
Hi, Tom Bodette. Motel 6's new improved website lets you book a room and save more for what you travel for faster than ever. Even faster than you can find your keys, which you swore were right on the little hooky thing by the garage door where they always are, and we can land a robot on a comet, but we can't keep keys from disappearing. Oh, here they are. Left them in my jacket. Don't you hate that? I'm Tom Bodette for the new improved Motel6.com, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Hey, welcome to Everything Outdoors. Can I help you find anything?
Hey, yeah. Can you point us to the camping gear?
Sure, aisle 2.
Snowboarding? Just bought a new Nissan Pathfinder. It's got intelligent 4x4, and we want to hit the backcountry.
Aisle 18.
And the boats?
Are you sure you can do all this?
Up to 6,000 pounds towing, we're good to go. Oh, where's the scuba gear?
Return to rugged in the all-new 2022 Nissan Pathfinder. Available intelligent 4x4 cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions. Towing capability varies by configuration. See Nissan Owner's Manual for proper use.
This is Steve.
Actually, it's Steve.
Steve is looking for a refreshing beverage.
Yeah, that's Steve.
Steve is about to drink a Schweppes ginger ale.
Wow, that's refreshing.
Steve says it's refreshing.
You think this is funny, huh? What's your name?
Stanley.
Schweppes ginger ale. Refreshing people just like Steve since 1783.
Thirsty for a more intense ginger taste?
Try new Schweppes dark ginger ale.
WGFB-FM radio. So are you ready? How it used to be. Something for everyone. 24/7, 365.
After these messages, we'll be right back. The COVID.
Cinda Williams here, and welcome to the Grown Folks Radio World. Wednesday afternoons from 2 to 4 Eastern, I host the PPC radio show with Shelly Shell Williams.
Hey everybody, it's Shell Williams, Philly's Okra.
We got some important stuff to talk about.
Fridays at noon Eastern, I present the PPC podcast. It drops on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, and many more. Please join me for real talk, great guests, lots of laughs, and powerful, precious conversations that can fill your self-help treasure chest with gems.
Listen, you only think you know Cinda Williams, co-host of the PPC radio show and the Melanated Morning Show. You've seen her in films with some of the GOATs. You may have even heard her sing her way to the top. You don't have to judge the book by its cover. You can get the book and read it cover to cover. I'm talking about Pink Panty Confessions by Cinda Williams, available in paperback and digital format in all good bookstores. I would probably look in Amazon.
WGFB-FM radio. So are you ready? How it used to be. Something for everyone. 24/7, 365.
Peace, warrior. Peace, family. This is Dr. Sadiki Che Baye coming back on the flip side of the program. I hope everybody unmuted their device so that you can get involved in our second half. And I'd like to say we have a special guest, the Honorable Dr. Sekazi Kauze Mtingwa. And he is an accomplished physicist, inventor, educator, Rhodes Scholar, international consultant, and activist. Oh man, he's all that. I don't even have time to be running all that down, but that's my brother there, and I appreciate the ancestors blessing us to meet each other and to communicate with each other, to share, of the energies. So now my energy is picked up because now sometimes it can seem like a lonely road. But when you run into one of the warriors that's on the journey, then it gives you that little pump, give you that little energy. So now I'm energized to go to another level. Thank you, brother, warrior. So
thanks for the invitation.
Oh yes, sir. So I'd like for the listening audience to participate and have a question or comment on observation to show our guests some love and respect, because we have to start supporting one another and stop depending on other people. We have to get our communities back in order. No matter what goes on in our lives, the community is the foundation to everything. That's what kept us together. That's what kept us always drawing a line and never crossing the line. We don't have no lines no more. We just all over the place, family. And it was done to us purposely. So we must be intentional about our efforts to get through this so that we can get back to our original way of life, which is the children of the Most High. So if anyone have wait a minute, before I do that, for 1 minute, brother, doctor, how was it when you lived in Russia? What was the feel of you being in Russia?
Yeah, now that's really interesting because before we left, the people in the program was called the Inter-Academy Exchange Program. So that our National Academy of Sciences and the Russian Academy of Sciences had so many man months that they would swap. So I occupied 1 man in 12 months, 12 man months of that. So the people at the National Academy here were very concerned about being a Black family going to Russia and how we would be treated. And they brought us to DC and tried to sort of warn us about this and that. But those people were nicer to us than the folks here. It was really fun. I mean, the people there were so nice. Our neighbors and all just treated us so nice. And they had sort of open affection for little children. I remember I was taking my younger daughter to her kindergarten, and this elderly Russian woman was waving, "Hey, wait," and she got up to us and just took my little Sharif and just hugged her and was saying, "Молодая девочка, хорошая девочка," which means good girl, beautiful girl, young girl. She was so, it's just amazing, the kind of treatment. At the time, Russia had long lines at shops and grocery stores. They wouldn't let us stand in the back of the line. The Russians would usher up. They realized we were foreigners. They would usher us up to the front of the line. So it was really interesting. I mean, they treated us extremely well. I made some great friends while there. And as a matter of fact, two of the people that I collaborated with in science have immigrated to the U.S. One of them, I helped to immigrate as chair of the physics department at North Carolina A&T. I needed somebody with his expertise, so I helped him to immigrate he was from Armenia, Soviet Armenia at the time. And another gentleman is at Penn State, who I met in St. Petersburg. So it was a great experience for me. It was a great cultural experience. So it was great. It was a great experience. Right when we came back, that was in '89, the wall, the communism just basically collapsed. So I like to claim credit for the down for the collapse.
Oh, we give it to you, brother. Yes, sir. Well, listen, brother. One of my colleagues at Temple University, who is an ancestor now, Dr. Burton, he often went to Russia. He specialized in etymology and history, and he went there and actually taught the Russians about themselves and their language and the original meaning of words and so forth and so on. So I feel special being in that kind of energy, but the time is moving. So I'm going to turn this over to the listening audience. If you have any questions, comments, or observations, we appreciate it right now.
All right. Hi.
First of all, where are you from and what's your name?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Let us know where you from and what's your name.
Hi. My name is Abinah, and I'm from Philadelphia. And I just wanted to give congratulations to, may I call you Professor?
Yes, yes. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Professor Sekazi. I just want to congratulate you because I was impressed from the very beginning when you spoke about being a second grade reader. To me, that's very commendable because I believe that if more of our children read more books, they too can reach their maximum potential and become great men, just like yourself. It's so essential to catch them when they're younger. And it's so good that this information is coming out so that others can know and let the children know you got this in your DNA. You too can be that. So again, I congratulate you on all your accomplishments. You stay strong and keep on going. And I also, I also would like to thank Dr. Sadiki for being a great man and for highlighting all the brothers.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Those are the comments that I wanted to make. I'm very impressed.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind. Yeah.
Yes.
You know, I was thinking on the various things that, you know, being involved in all these things. You know, I've often over the last 5 years or so thought that the age thing should be inverted. Somehow it's backwards. Because if I had my 20-year-old energy now when I need it, I would be in much better shape. As a 20-year-old, all I was doing was sitting down reading. You know, I didn't need any energy. So it's this thing is backwards. Our lives are backwards.
yes. Hey, look, that's a great point because they did flip upside down. So we are backwards in a lot of different ways, and that was done purposely. And in order to do something about it, we have to peep that and then devise a strategy and connect with a process that will reverse this thing. And we have to do that together. We got in this mess together. We got to come out together. So with that in mind, is there anyone else who would like to make a comment or a question or observation? You got the floor right now.
Good evening, Dr. Sadiki and Dr. Sekazi. This is Paula.
Hello.
And my question is, are there any programs or Zoom sessions or any type of availability for our millennials, our millennial males specifically? Because I think that they would benefit, they would benefit tremendously from the wisdom and knowledge that's being exhibited here. So first and foremost, thank you so much, Dr. Sadiki. Thank you so much, Dr. Sekazi, who, you know, and it would be so beneficial to have a group of millennial males hearing this because so many times they're not listening to this type of wisdom and information. And I just think it would be a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I think, in fact, you make a good point. I think if they were to tune into this program, they would get a lot. So if you can somehow convince as many as possible to tune in every Tuesday night, I think it would be most profitable.
Now, that's an excellent point, because this is what I want to emphasize when I give a shout out to bring somebody else with you, preferably the youth, because we have to really motivate them. Somewhere along the line we lost sight, and we need to go back and see what happened, and we need to, what do they call it, redemption. There is such thing as redemption. So we have to really gather ourselves and come together and turn this thing around, because we keep blaming the children for everything. The children didn't come here that way, they ended up this way. So the environment, somewhere along the line, the environment caused them to continue to do what they're doing. So that's an excellent point that you brought up, Queen and Doc, that we need to get our youth involved, because that's our future. They are the little us. So we have to give them a better opportunity and a better chance to advance.
Absolutely.
So is there anyone else who have any questions, comments, or observations? You got the floor. Who is this, Manny? That's the one that just finished talking. Okay.
This is Juanetta.
Juanetta. Okay, Manny, you I saw a hand raised. Go ahead.
My name is Manny. Dr. Sadiki and Dr. Sekazi. How? That's rhythm there.
Yes. That's right.
I would like, I'm amazed every time I speak with Sekazi. I'm just overwhelmed. I would like to bring it down to earth a little bit. I'm not a scientist, I'm a business manager, but I had the privilege of visiting Dr. Sekazi's home, and his young daughter had to do her spelling, her homework. And Dr. Sekazi is so down to earth. He thought about it. She said, Dad, I've got to do my spelling. You're going to help me with my spelling. He said, go ahead. You call the words to me. And so she did. She called the spelling words to him. He wrote them down and he gave them to her to correct. And she came to me, she whispered, he can't spell.
You never told me that.
And Kaiser, being the scientist and the most accomplished man that he is, he told her, I'm not going to take your word for it. If it's wrong, you need to prove it to me it's wrong. Go get your dictionary. You have to prove it to me. And I thought that was just great. If more parents would kind of take their children and kind of switch on them, that would be great. But I thought that was the most down to earth and most thing I've learned while visiting with one of my many visits with him.
Yeah, right.
I had the privilege of doing that. And he's so down to earth. He went to the shopping center with us and just watched us try on shoes. He's the latest man.
All right there, brother.
Get me in trouble now.
Yeah. Well,
hey, brother, you didn't say that.
My wife and Stella is on this line. You didn't hear what you heard. How they said you didn't hear what you were listening to.
Stella was with us. Stella was with us.
Oh, she was with. Okay, I'm safe. Okay.
Oh, you safe? Your wife was with you. Okay.
Yeah. His wife, myself, and the two girls, and we were trying on shoes, and he was sitting there and said, "Oh, those are pretty." And I mean, you just can't ask for a better person. Down to earth, smart, and my cousin.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, because of the team effort, brother, don't worry about it if your spelling is off. We got you.
Yeah, these children, I tell you, like now, actually, both of my daughters are computer specialists, and when I go and ask them, if I have a computer question, I can ask them, but I have to study up a little bit before I ask them, because they make me feel so bad. Daddy, what did I tell you last time? I think Juanetta had her hand up too.
Yes, and next person, you got the floor.
Press Richie.
Go ahead. Anyone, if you have another question, or I'll just go ahead on and go ahead.
I said, Здравствуйте, Sekazi.
O, здравствуйте. O, вы говорите по-русски. O, я не знал. Okay,
Я
you speak
говорю
Russian.
по-русски.
Oh, очень хорошо. You speak Russian.
Да.
All right now.
We're part of a tradition in Atlanta of having gone to segregated schools, Turner High School and Washington High School and Howard High School. But I want to specifically say that Sekazi was part of where they had new science and new math, remember? Where we didn't count and do numeracy as what was in the one-room schoolhouse. There were experiments that were coming out of the University of Illinois about instructing mathematics and science, because Sputnik took place in 1962, 61, and America became very much interested in boosting and racing with the Russians for the science quest. Now, I say all of that to say that Sekazi, before we were Sekazi, but you know what I'm saying, was part of the gifted program. And our teachers had an ingredient that is missing, which is the love, meaning good discipline to make our lessons in mathematics and science and music and arts to be done on an excellent level. And it seems as though we're being brought into this, I would say, consumerism, where if it's shiny and glittery, that's the objective, to get the money. But what we were taught was to get the knowledge. Now, I preface all of that to say that as an educator, I've observed my students from other countries who come with a thirst for learning and will take the book and go in their math books from front page to the back page and work all the problems and not care about socialization. Now, I want to ask this question, Sekazi. Your work in Ghana, where you're looking at high energy ways to convert electricity into the electric grid for consumers. How are we able to use, I don't like to just say STEM, but STEAM. How are we able to harness that type of quest for knowledge that maybe students in the developing, so-called developing nations have, and translate that to our children that we have here? That's a question I have.
Okay, that's kind of a difficult one for me to say, but I'm not quite sure. So you want to know how to translate the knowledge gained in Ghana to the children here in the U.S.? I'm missing your...
What I'm saying is that I know you're working on worldwide projects, and in particular, you work with Ghana, and you're looking at developing electricity and ways to, what is it, crystallizations? I'm not sure if I read that correctly, but how can we take that kind of forefront kind of knowledge and maybe translate it to maybe not the undergraduate, high school level students, but maybe college students? How can we make these exchanges?
Oh yeah, okay, so exchanges are going on all the time, in fact. You know, one of the biggest interests that I have is sending people from, I mentioned before this organization called LAMP, but LAMP is a long name. It's light sources, the kind that I mentioned earlier. Light sources for Africa, the Americas, Asia, Middle East, and Pacific. So we take faculty and student, we call them FAST teams. The FA from faculty and the ST from students, we call those FAST teams, and we send them to light sources for training. We've sent over 100 of these teams to people to these various places for training. Then we have other kinds of exchange programs. We bring African students to the US in many cases, and they can do the research for their PhDs or master's degrees. Then they can go back home to their institutions to receive, take the final exams, whatever they need to close out those degrees. They call those sandwich programs. So we do a lot of these things. And then online, we have a lot of what we call webinar workshops and webinar schools for high school teachers, for undergraduate students, for professionals to train them, introduce them to new areas of science and engineering. So the world is small. I mean, you ask a great question, but in fact, that's the kind of thing that we're doing. We're moving knowledge from continent to continent. And that LAMP program that I mentioned, when we say the Americas, we mean Mexico and the Caribbean, essentially. And in Asia, we're talking about Southeast Asia, not China or Japan, those that are highly developed. Of course, the Middle East, and then the Pacific Islands and all of Africa. So, and we try to move people around. I mean, the world is so small now, but that's what we do. So we have so many webinars, so many visitorships to do precisely the kind of thing that you are asking about. I hope that sort of answers.
Yes, I appreciate that. And I'm thinking about how, and this is on a personal basis.
Yeah.
Because of your accomplishments, I'm trying to.
We have 2 minutes. We have 2 minutes.
I'm just saying, it's a very great blessing to be on Earth at this time with all of the people who are on this webinar. And I appreciate your humility. It is absolutely, how should I say, a role model that you show. That I had a conversation some time ago with Professor Paul Samuelson at MIT. And I was saying, oh, Dr. Samuelson. He said, oh, call me Paul. And then when I came here to Atlanta, I called a professor,
1 minute.
And he corrected me right away. And so you're just reminding me that we are people who are blessed, and thank you for your humility and your brilliant walking together side by side.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
That is beautiful. Thank you, audience, for those beautiful questions, comments, and observations. They were on time. You definitely showed the warrior some love. And I just want to say thank you, warrior, for blessing us with the opportunity to have you in front of us. Excuse me, and to sharing with us, your journey. It's very inspirational. And I just want to let you know that we will always appreciate you. And if there's anything that I can do, in reference to upliftment, because my specialty is mental and spiritual, and we need that because we're too physical today, and that's why we're too overly emotional. So we have to get back to our reality, and that's spiritual and mental. We are spiritual first, but they flipped us upside down and we became physical first. So we got to work our way back to our reality. And we got in this mess together, and we got to come out together. We need each other more than ever before. And I thank you for inspiring us and being there. Oh man, she is exactly right. Your humility is unbelievable. And you're worthy of everything that the Creator and the ancestors bless you with and your family.
Well, thank you. This has certainly been a great pleasure for me, and I wish all of you the best as we move forward. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Now I want to before we got 2 minutes left, I like to say that this is a special thing for me, to highlight our people, especially the heads. You know what I mean? And the brothers, man means mind, a thinker. All males are not men. So we want to elevate our males into the manhood level of living. And that takes a process, and it's not going to happen overnight. So we have to have patience, and patience develops faith. And we have to understand that. So once you pray, now you have to be patient. and have faith that, you know, sooner or later it's going to happen. So your responsibility is to prepare because it'll happen at any moment. So with that in mind, family, I'd like to show you my book again. It seems to me, it's kind of glared there. It seems to me, and it says things that we must acknowledge. And the things that we must acknowledge is the Creator and our ancestors. Because again, family, we are the ancestors having a human experience. So we must keep the connection with the spiritual ancestors because we're going to transform into that sooner or later. So everything in life is about preparation. So we must be prepared. You know, and anything that's an obstacle or no good for what you're about, then push it to the side. It's not always who it is, but it's always what it is. But who it is can make what it is worse if you care for them. So be careful with them. Guard your heart and use your mind. So with that in mind, family, this is Dr. Sadiki Che Baye coming to you once again as your servant. I like to say happy new life, happy new journey, and happy new you. This is Dr. Sadiki Che Baye, your servant. Peace.